Blog Talk Radio.
Hotep, peace, shalom, salam, and all that good stuff. You are now listening to the sound of the shofar blowing, and I'm Shophar. And today, the shofar is being blown to call all of us to Mayat. I'll go a little bit more into that in a second. But you're at FOSHO Holistic Health on Blog Talk Radio. I'm your host, Shophar, from FOSHO Energy Work. And today, my guest is Mallence Bart-Williams. If you all haven't had that chance to hear this sister, she had a TED Talk in Berlin a little while ago. That's when I was introduced to her. Saw her on Facebook. Someone had posted it. And the sister was just bringing it as far as the whole spirit of Mayat, which I'll go into that a little bit about what that means. In fact, I'll do it now. Mayat is the divine faculty that communicates to man, to humankind, the principle of interdependence. And so that's a quote by Ra'un Nefer Amin. And the sister was just bringing that spirit of Mayat. When I saw her talk, that's what went through my head. It's like she understands our interdependence as a human species. So, without further ado, what I want to do is bring the sister on. Mallence, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hey, sis, how you doing?
I'm excellent. How are you?
I am doing great. After how many months? Like 7 months, and your world journeys, door to explore. First time we talked, first time we attempted this, that was, you were in China, I believe, right?
Hong Kong.
Hong Kong, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were in Hong Kong, and then from there, I know you went to Egypt and Sierra Leone and South Africa, and I'm probably missing a couple of spots. So yeah, you be getting it in. How's things going?
Things I would say they're running, flying, not exactly going, but they're flying good. They're flying
nice. High. Okay, flying high. All right. Well, I know you're in the pilot seat, so that's what's up. Well, I want to go ahead and jump right into it because we got 30 minutes, and that may not sound like, that may sound like something, but I know that goes by pretty quick, especially we went through a whole conversation, had it recorded, but because I'm in California, she was in China, we were trying to do it by Skype, and the app didn't quite work out. Her voice came out very faint, and we couldn't quite recover it. We tried a couple of things or whatever, so... but I know from that the time goes by really quick with you because you have so many great things to say. So let's go ahead and get into it. Sharity, when I saw you talking on the TED Talk, you were talking about, about Sharity, and I want to go into that concept some. I mean, first off, tell us how is it that colonial powers have tricked the world into believing that Africa needs aid? Can you go a little bit into that?
Yeah, I think it works pretty much the very same way than every marketing campaign, that we witness on TV, on billboards, and so on. And what we always fail to understand is that it's like charity is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Like, just to give you an example, in the UK alone, I think 2012 or 13, this industry, the revenue was 37 billion pounds. That in dollars would be way over 40 billion, and probably to their entire GDP it would contribute a couple of percent, So these charities, you have to understand, they create a huge job force. In the UK alone, I don't know, it was 250,000 charities registered last year, and then just think about how many employees. If just an average charity has between 10 and 100 employees, then just do the mathematics. For that industry to collapse and vanish from the surface of the earth would mean a decline in GDP. It would mean unemployment. It would mean because these salaries that they pay, you earn decent money. It's not exactly as if these people are all volunteers. When somebody comes for these bigger organizations to Africa, they live in a house that costs $5,000. They have an allowance, they have a Jeep, they have a this and that, and how does that stand in proportion to the well they built once a week or every 2 weeks? They go and check on the progress of the well they're building. So the profits are capitalized, not in Africa, overseas. And then when you look at another study that basically shows you how much money goes into Africa and how much then leaves the region, it leaves basically Africa with like a 60 billion deficit, and because like an estimated 135 billion in loans, foreign investment, development, and so on always goes into Africa apparently per year, but almost 200 billion leaves the continent, in tax evasion, profits that are capitalized overseas. You have to understand a lot of the mining companies, these are Anglo-Saxon companies, they capitalize their profits overseas. So it's that kind of game and part of this tell a lie game that we've all been playing since the beginning of time. And it's worthwhile to run marketing campaigns just like they do for a silly washing powder, for Coca-Cola, for McDonald's. Everything that is unnecessary needs to be heavily advertised. Products that are necessary, right. I mean, you don't really need to advertise water unless it's special or air or, essential things don't need to be advertised. Sun, you don't need to advertise that, You just need to mention, hey, we have sun, and people come in hordes. But things that are fake need to be like, you need to invest more money in kind of selling an image, selling a story to the consumer, in that case, like innocent people that think they help with their donations. And that is really pretty much what it is, because the images are falsified, the shots that you see on these big billboards of starving children, these are shot in studios often. You look at it and you're like, really? You dressed up a child, smeared its face with dust to make it look like it's suffering here? Where do you stop? Or if you remember the Live Aid campaign by Bob Geldof, people, no image is dehumanizing and horrendous enough to emotionalize people to push their campaigns, and they become so desensitized to this is a human life. This is not a product. They're trying to sell the product. When you remember this song, Do They Know It's Christmas Yet? You had that, I think, going on in the 80s, was a huge success, and then they revived it about a year ago, and all these European countries, they would show you these video clips, and in the beginning, it was this woman suffering of Ebola. It happened to be a shot from Sierra Leone that could have potentially been my relative. They were dragging her out of her own excrement in bed, her dead body or half-dead body, like she was just in her underwear, skin and bones, And how come with Africa you do not hesitate to show such pictures while that very man's own wife, Paula Yates, was found dead by an overdose of heroin with syringes in her bed and so on, probably looking exactly the same. Would he want that as a husband for his wife's picture to go around the world? His daughter, this what's her name, Peaches Geldof, was found with her toddler in bed. She died. She injected herself an overdose of heroin. So I feel people should sweep their own yard first before they kind of paint a picture of Africa that they do for one mere reason: money. It's a cash cow. How much that guy earns with this song is insane. Okay, in proportion to that, how many percent of people died of Ebola realistically? In the 90s, you had flu epidemics in Germany, in Europe, that wiped out more people. Does that mean we can't travel to Germany anymore? Does that mean now Germany is only known for flu epidemic? Hell no. Germany would never permit another country to run this type of advertisement campaigns on them. It would just not be tolerated.
I see what you're saying. No, that is a huge great point there, but I heard it said, I don't know if it was Dr. Francis Quelch Wilson or someone, but they were like, whoever controls the images, you know what I mean? They control. Thank you. They control, and that's what's happened is others control the images
what is
right
in
now.
Your mind. Yeah.
Right. Wow. Wow. Okay. All right. So if y'all didn't know, I think y'all know now. She's bringing it. So tell us, sis, the difference between charity and charity, because I know you had some things to say about charity that may,
Yes.
rock people or whatever. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
I give you my very own perspective that might not hold for everyone, but I believe there's a profound truth to it. And my perspective is that me, Mallence, I share for a very, very selfish reason. It makes me feel good. Yeah. When I give, I ultimately understand how rich I am, how wealthy I am. And for me, it is only satisfying when it's a two-way exchange, because I know I haven't really, shared anything if this thing hasn't made an as profound impact on me, So I know I haven't truly given. If let's say I donate somewhere $100, do I feel it? No, I don't feel it, So because I haven't felt it means I have not shared. Because if I had really, for me, I know I've only given if this has given to me, if this has touched me, if this has moved me, if this has changed me, then I know I've shared because I've gained likewise amount of it. And what I've done with Lion Base, it changed me profoundly. I gained profound insight, and it enriched my life in so many ways. Just when the notion of giving turns in an act of sharing, I know you've hit the equilibrium, and I always seek to do that in any exchange with a human being. With you, I try to hit that now, when I talk with a person. Otherwise, it's not worth my time, it really isn't. Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. And that goes to what I was saying, I think, in the beginning of the whole Mayat thing. That's a Egyptian or ancient Kemet concept of interdependence on the tree of life, is saying that we're all connected and that we all have some type of interdependence or whatever. So, charity, the way that you just explained it would fit into that model, I think, very neatly. One of the things when I got a chance to talk to you when you were in Hong Kong that really struck me is it ended up kind of going into a kind of a deep metaphysical conversation, and for a bit there, and you were talking about a little bit about Africa as a womb. And so if you could go a little bit into that about how the disrespect of Africa is the disrespect of the feminine.
Yes, it is, because when you look at this globe, whether you believe in whichever theory you believe in, whether that is a round sphere, it's a flat sphere, whatever, I don't care.
I checked it. That was crazy. That was crazy, yo.
Sorry?
No, I checked that video you sent me too, by the way. That was crazy. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And basically, whatever you believe in, there's a center to something, and to me that center is either the womb or the heart. From there, things are born. From there, it's a source. It's an abundant source,
Right.
And so when you look at the globe and you turn it around, because it's a sphere, after all, with a flat around, you turn it around, then you look at Africa, it's clearly the shape of a heart. And when you look at my TED Talk, that's exactly how I began it. And you look at this globe and you see the shape of a heart in the center of everything else, and it's the only continent that is connected to the tectonic plates, and that is why these sources overflows abundantly. There's almost no limit to it, and some people do understand that. I believe on some levels everybody understands that. Some only understand it on a very materialistic, physical level, because Africa sustains the entire world. It always has, at least since we started to record time, whether it's been done in a very elaborate and profound way, bringing wisdom, bringing knowledge, pyramids, architecture, you name it, gods, everything, from gold to precious minerals to herbs to salts to everything came from this continent. When you look into Latin America, Mexico, Europe, where did really the wisdom come from? Even this morning I was listening to something about Mary Magdalena and Jesus, and all the scrolls, where were they found? In Africa. Is that by coincidence? The lost gospel of John and the lost gospel of Mary Magdalene was all found in Egypt, and so basically it is the source of so much. And when you really look at it, and to me it's entirely feminine, this place, because it's so abundant, it's so lush, it's so, and especially a place like Sierra Leone, it's such a virgin ground. Ultimately, it's like the land of milk and honey, you know, and for me, that is very feminine. When you think of a female womb, think of it as a sphere of milk and honey from which something always flows out, you know, and ultimately it's something that creates life, that sustains life, it nurtures. That is, to me, as a woman, you know, and it's like something that's born with so many seeds. As a woman, we're born with like how many millions of seeds? Just imagine that. In my womb, I contain millions of seeds, you know, and each of the seeds is like an entire like family tree. So just Africa, it's just like breathes and the thing flourishes, you know? It's like that fertile thing. You just say something and then boom, it manifests. That fertile, you know, spiritually, energetically, the soil, okay, not everywhere, you know. I'm really talking a little bit from a Sierra Leonean perspective, not exactly like when you go to Namibia, Botswana, all that, there's drought, you know, but it's like, ultimately it's the feminine, and when you reap that womb, you know, it will bring you life, but when you rape it, it will bring you suffering and horror, and what has been done to Africa has been raped, you know. There's nothing wrong with reaping, but reaping involves also a concept of exchange. It involves the concept of replenishing. You know, if I want to reap from a tree, I must make sure the soil is nurtured, the environment is cohesive, it's like growing, it's watered, it has light, it has water, it has oxygen, you know. I need to make sure that that is given, and that means I nurture it back one way or the other. But if I just take, and I chop this thing into how many pieces, and I rape it, when you see how Africa is mined, that is rape, you know, not just of the human resource, of the environment. They go so deep, they dig so deep, they dig her essence, you know, and then with harsh chemicals, the mercury that they use to wash, to purify in countries where the gold isn't pure enough, when it comes from the soil, it's rape. Nothing will ever grow there again. And as a woman, I feel that so profoundly, because ultimately we're so fertile, we're so strong. We're not fertile in terms of bringing forth life. We're fertile in terms of thought, ideas, energy, you know, as women. Of course, we've been like oppressed and silenced and all this kind of things, but ultimately it's there. Why were we suppressed and silenced? Because people fear us. It was too powerful, you know. And with Africa, the same thing. It is so dominant. It's really original, ultimate cradle, and that is why it's human resource, not just it's human resource. People are scared of everything that is alive that comes out of Africa. The lion, the tiger, the zebra, the elephant, everything is so intimidating. The black man, the black woman, it's so intimidating, it's so dominant. You know, you mix with that DNA, what is the product? Me, Mallence, I'm that product, you know. Don't come out white. I come out colored, you know, and that is very intimidating. And that goes further. Why is the black man, woman suppressed around this globe? It's intimidating. I'm very aware of that, you know, walking into a room. It's intimidating, you know. So it's ultimately, it's that rape, I believe, will only cease once everybody develops an inner confidence, number one, because only if you truly respect yourself can you respect others, can you respect what is given to you, what is available, what was brought here, not by your effort, you know, but by God, by the divine, by nature, creation, the universe, whatever you want to call it. And so I believe really the way forward is for people to develop an ultimate sense of self-respect, you know, and of course, if you think of it, all the healing that has to go on inside of the oppressor too, you know, they are victims of their own actions and deeds as well, because the confidence is not there. If I know I came from a lineage that has murdered, killed, slaughtered, oppressed, for what? You know, a token, you know, for, yes, okay, maybe it's for survival instinct, you know, on so many levels, but survival instincts because of the resources that sustain the world, and also because you do not want your own to die out, because the reality is in 100, 200 years from now, people will look like me. That's right. The reality. And there's nothing racist. It's just the reality of things. We mix. In me, I have European, German, I have Asian, Malaysian, I have African. So people will the look will gravitate into that direction. And maybe a lot of people are scared of that what they represent will die out, but that's the natural course of life. And I feel only when people recognize or redevelop that self-respect, and that requires healing. First, healing, very importantly, you have to acknowledge your mistake, your wrongdoing. You have to acknowledge, okay, I've committed this crime, this was wrong, and I forgive myself, and I want to ask for forgiveness, and that triggers almost like a snowball effect, and the rest will come. The next steps will follow, but presently we're at that time where history is being rectified. Native Americans are getting their narrative straight, granting basically special asylum to 200 million illegal immigrants, which they are. Everybody here in America is illegal. The same Africans eventually now in Namibia have negotiations going on between the Namibian government and the German government, the Namibian asking for an official apology and reparations, because the first concentration camps, before they even introduced them in Germany and proceeded with the Jewish Holocaust, they had tested them already in Namibia. People do not know that. That is just not mentioned in the history books, and understandably so. I wouldn't write that in my CV or in my introduction letter, I don't do that. So I don't even, the blaming game is a waste of time. It's just print your own history books and include what is important to your narrative and get it straight. With Australia, the same thing. We have to acknowledge, first and foremost, and that's why I feel it's important to be immaculate with your language, because the minute you call somebody an American or a South African or a Namibian that is clearly not of that soil, because the person is white, the minute you call that person Australian, you're already feeding into the lie. They're not. They've invaded these places as what we call under today's definition as terrorists, by violence, by force, by this, by that. And they've just issued themselves passports, pretty much so, and I find that so ironic and interesting at the same time, because in Germany right now we have what people call an immigration crisis, because immigrants are coming into the country like crazy, from war-torn countries or whatever for economic reasons. And basically they're tolerated or they're given a status, but to think if they would come with weapons, take over the government and issue themselves German citizenship and then impose their laws. That for us would be straight up, hey, ISIS showed up. That would be straight up terrorism. So we need to just rectify the narrative. I think that's step one. Once the narrative is out there, and just a multitude or the majority of people subscribe to that narrative, because that is all what facts and history are. It's just somebody telling their story, and then it's been printed a gazillion times. Every school around the world studied that book. People agreed on a version of the story that might be a blatant lie. Christopher Columbus, all that is blatant lies, but people have all subscribed to it. So nobody has the right to ever complain unless you show up and you present your own story. Then we can talk, and I feel we can talk because this is presently happening. People are telling their own stories. Africans are doing that. Native Indians are doing that. Australians, and stories can be heard. We have social media. The world has shrunk into a mouse click, basically. So, and also we are there. We've evolved enough consciously in our mindset to receive these stories and be open to another truth, to a new set of facts, to something that's more complete. And people are thirsty for knowledge presently. So it's a beautiful time, actually, including all these horrendous wake-up calls that we witness that are very, very, very necessary to make people uncomfortable, to make people finally question, to make people, uncomfortable, because that brings about real change. So I feel blessed to be alive right now.
It's very special times, and so much of what you touched on there, good gosh, we had already talked about the images, but also these concepts, like you said, of calling someone American or South African or whatever, these different concepts that are brought into that feed into the old way of doing things, the old paradigms. And I love what you're saying, that to not honor those, to not use those languages.
Why do we do that with people just because they're Europeans? We wouldn't do that. We wouldn't negotiate with terrorists usually. You don't have a passport. You can ISIS all you want. You can 9/11 all you want. That doesn't give you citizenship. Seriously, not, period. Or we all subscribe to a set of rules that I can invade now China, gun in my hand, walk through immigration, boom, I want my passport. Then fine, I'm going to work with that then. But make up your mind, it's either or, either we define such acts as terrorism, and then it doesn't matter if you're the descendant of a terrorist. Does that now, okay, you still benefit from the atrocities that were committed. And so I think we just, that doesn't make it better. It makes it better if once one acknowledges the mistake, has forgiven themselves, has asked for forgiveness, has been forgiven, then I feel we can move forward, and it's kind of happening, I feel.
I say no. I mean, your conversations like this, what you did at the TED Talk, and I think the world is ready. There's many people ready to reap, not rape, but reap the benefits of us having real conversations and doing that deep inner work so that we can heal, and so that we can heal collectively. We got just a little over 3 minutes left. So I want the family to know a little bit about your upcoming books. What you told me about that, those sound like they're going to be very on point. And from there, we'll basically be wrapping up. So if you could just tell us a little bit about your upcoming books.
Mm-hmm. It's my contribution to the narrative. Basically, that's all it is, And I feel what's the point of complaining? Ooh, I hear people say, oh, black people aren't represented in Hollywood. Hollywood ain't black. It's like saying white people aren't represented in Nollywood. This is so retarded. Write your own script, make your own movie, print your own book, teach your children. So basically, I don't understand the complaining part in people. So that's why I started, with a series. Me personally, I love African history. I had to educate myself profoundly. And I love these amazing stories about amazing African queens. I started with that. Also amazing African kings that have done great things, their traditions, their lifestyles, their philosophies, their morals. There's so much wisdom in it, and I want to share it. And I want to, so I began writing that. I started with children.
With these different queens and stuff that people haven't heard of, because, just some of the ones that you were sharing with me, I think yesterday, it's mind-boggling to just see how it's definitely been his story. It hasn't been her story, and it hasn't been our story, So, again, you're not looking to anyone else to change that. We have to rectify that. Yeah.
It's been a Eurocentric story on top of it. Did you know that Britain, they included now the fact that Africans were in Britain before the people we know as Brits today, And so now it's in their curriculum officially, because they have the evidence is there when you go to the National Library in the UK, the Fairbairn Book of Crests and all this kind of thing. It shows you exactly where these royal families, the crests don't lie, Egypt doesn't lie, Mexico doesn't lie, artifacts don't lie, pretty distinct. But so.
Well, we have a minute and a half, actually under a minute and a half here. So, definitely, sis, I definitely, is there any last, real quick, just anything you want to leave the family with or anything you want to say?
Yeah, discover your inner world. I think discover your inner world, create your inner paradise, in your mind, in your body, in your heart, in your soul. And then that's really the ultimate thing to do that we can do, that we can change. And with that, everything around us changes as a consequence.
I like it. Okay. Whew. Well, I got to go back and re-listen to this, too. You dropping so many Sierra Leone gems for us diamonds. And precious metals and shit on us. So Yeah, no question.
It's pure as gold. You can eat it.
Yeah,
right
pure as gold. No mercury needed. Just straight.
No mercury
just straight reap it out reap it right out the ethers from what you're saying, sis. So we got 10 seconds left here. I want you to know I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for stopping through for Show Holistic Health. I'm your guest, Shophar, from Faux Show Energy Work, and we'll see y'all soon. Keep shining. Peace.
Bye. You too.